Thanks for your company. The details now. Asin Central MP Kennedy Agyapong is at the Supreme Court this morning seeking to halt contempt proceedings against him. An Accra High Court, presided over by Justice Amos Wooney, has ordered the MP to show up and explain why he should not be severely punished for comments he made about a judge, which the court deems disrespectful. Well, he failed to show up on Monday over claims he was unaware of the proceedings, causing the court to fix the matter for today. But his lawyers want the apex court to stop it entirely. We'll be bringing you more. My colleague, court correspondent Joseph Akable, is in court. He will hopefully join us shortly for details on this. Now, the new Patriotic Party's Ashanti Regional Chairman, Bernard Entry-Boesiako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, has been named as the most abusive politician on radio. That's according to the Media Foundation for West Africa's latest language monitoring report for August. Now, he is closely followed by Bono Regional Chairman, who is Kwame Bafo, popularly known as Abronye DC. And there you can see, just zooming in on his picture there. And that is followed by Asin Central MP Kennedy Agyapong. Now, a total of 99 indecent expressions were recorded by 34 individuals. The 99 indecent expressions are made up of insulting and offensive comments, and also unsubstantiated allegations, threats, provocative remarks, expressions or comments promoting divisiveness. The NPP recorded 50 indecent expressions, followed by the NDC with 9, and the PPP 3, GCPP 2, the Ghana Freedom Party and Liberal Party of Ghana recorded 1 indecent expression each. Now, here's the report. Here's what the report also did. It segmented radio stations that recorded indecent expressions. 12 out of the 15 monitored recorded indecent expressions. Kumasi-based Wontumi Radio, which is owned by Chairman Wontumi, the Ashanti Regional Chairman of the NPP, recorded 34 indecent expressions on its morning show. Accra-based Oman FM, which is owned by Kennedy Agyapong, the MPP's MP for Asin Central, recorded 28 indecent expressions on 2 of its major programs. That's Boiling Point and National Agenda. Kumasi-based Ash FM recorded 28 indecent expressions across 3 programs, and that's Boiling Point, Keynote, and National Agenda. So these programs are broadcast from Accra and piped to Ash FM. Now, Power FM, which we know is affiliated to the NDC, also based in Accra, recorded 14 indecent expressions, all on its afternoon political show titled Inside Politics. Now, Programs Officer at the Media Foundation for West Africa, Kweku Krobi Asante, joins us for more on this. Thank you so much for your time this morning, sir. So, I realized that in one of your reports from June 15 to 30, monitoring the airspace, Abronye DC was part of the most abusive persons on radio. Clearly, your report wasn't deterrent enough because he is also captured in this particular latest report. So what do we do beyond the research, and reporting? How do we...
Okay, thanks, Bennett, and my regards to your audience. You rightly pick it up. You pick it right when you say we have cited him in the previous reports, and he happens to have appeared this time. And so what we have been suggesting all this while is that, you see, the responsibility also lies with us, the media, the show hosts, the journalists, the editors, the producers, and the media owners, to play our gatekeepers' role well. The media is given the gatekeepers' role to decide who is put on air, who is put off air, what is discussed on air, and what the media decides not to discuss because they consider it something that's not worth discussing on air. We are saying that beyond these political parties and political actors failing to live by the standard that is expected from them, the media must come to our rescue to play the gatekeepers' role well and decide not to even invite such people on air or invite or bring them on their shows to be given the opportunity to make such indecent expressions.
Mr. Krabby Asante, let me just come in here. You talk about the show hosts, you talk about the media owners, and you're saying that we shouldn't engage such people. But here's the case. These people, in this particular case, two, Chairman Wontumi and Kennedy Agyapong, own the radio stations. He who pays the piper calls the tune, isn't it?
I agree. Who pays the piper calls the tune. But you see, if you look at our report, for instance, taking the MP for Asen Central, Honorable Kennedy Agyapong, he makes his utterances, these indecent expressions, not only on Oman FM. He makes these expressions also on Asempa FM. He makes these expressions across other media platforms. Indeed, they own one or two of these radio stations. In the first place, if all the other ones decide not to fail them, they will be restricted to their radio stations. Secondly, if the journalists, the show hosts on these radio stations decide to hold them accountable and say, yes, I agree, you are the owner, you pay me, but I have a profession to protect. I have a standard to project. I am pretty sure that if you present yourself as a professional to a certain level, even your owner and the people pays will begin to respect your craft and say, yes, this person is doing his work so well that even though I own this platform, I can't afford to be on the show and be making any indecent expression.
So, and I'll make reference to our previous conversation, which focused on journalists, show hosts proper, and how they conduct themselves on air. The issue about media ownership came up again. Should we begin to look at it? I know there's always the element of regulating the media and infringing on people's right to express themselves, but clearly we are seeing a link between politically owned radio stations and the kind of abuses that we are recording.
Well, it's a bit of a very touchy issue, given our history, the media history of this country, and how, when politicized, it can have its own tone and impact on our media landscape. So, for instance, if you say you are going to regulate so that certain political party actors or certain faces that we know do not own the radio stations, whoever is regulating, most definitely being the government in power or whoever is in there, will begin to use their own arbitrary powers to say, I will let this person in, I won't let this person in. And from our history, we know that these things are bound to happen. So it's a very touchy and controversial issue that sometimes we don't agree that necessarily people should be prevented from owning a certain media outlets just because of them being known to be affiliated to certain political parties. Rather, our core is for us to champion the ethics of it, champion the professionalism, and champion the standards so that even the journalist who is going in there will begin to champion these ethics and principles and say, yes, you own this radio station, but I can't afford to become a puppet, or I can't afford to become a tool, a weapon for you to do your political bidding. This is where our focus should really be, and we have to caution ourselves in that regard.
Yeah, and briefly, Mr. Asante, before you go, yes, we have a history, and we don't want to go back to that history, especially for us as journalists. So we cannot infringe on people's right to express themselves. We cannot suppress the job of the media. But clearly, we can call people who are unethical to order. We can find a certain way of ensuring that our airwaves are, sane. There's some sanity in there. How do we do that?
Okay, so we make recommendations to different groups of people. Already, I have mentioned the role that the show host must play, the role that the producer and the editor must play. There have been instances, for instance, on JoyNews where a news file has decided to say, we won't let certain individuals appear on our program. Yes, people will criticize you to be discriminatory, but the bigger picture is that we have our airwaves to protect. We are playing our gatekeeper's role. And I think this standard should be something that must be standardized across all media platforms. Certain individuals, based on these reports, like you rightly mentioned, if we cite you consistently, then you are beginning to be in a certain color that the show hosts, the producers must be keen to ensure that they do not happen. Again, we caution the political parties themselves because they have a lot to lose if the stability and peace we have in this country should be in any way challenged. I mean, they run the institution that presents people to occupy the government machinery. If the government machinery ceases to exist, if this country's peace and stability is in any way challenged, they are among one of the biggest losers, as well as the citizens in the country. And so we can't drum this well enough in for them that, hey, we need to live by the standards and ensure that decent language that is consistent with the ethics of our society, is being championed on air. And anybody you send out there to represent you, be able to check or be guided by these reports that we have put out to know who is pushed out there to speak for the party.
I appreciate your time here this morning. Kweku Krobi Asante is Programs Officer at the Media Foundation for West Africa, and we've just been discussing their latest report, which focuses on abusive language on air. And if you just joined the program, let me just run you through some of the findings of that report. And it's that the New Patriotic Party's Ashanti Regional Chairman, Bernard Entry-Boisiako, who is popularly called Chairman Wontumi, has been named as the most abusive politician on radio. And he's closely followed by the NPP's Bono Region Chairman, Kwame Baffo, popularly known as Abronye DC, and Asin Central MP Kennedy Agyapong. And there was a total of 99 indecent expressions recorded by 34 individuals. Now, the monitoring was done for the period August 1 to August 31. That's very important. We need to put in that time frame there. And so they monitored some radio stations in the Greater Accra, Oman FM, Power FM, Peace FM, Happy FM, Asempa FM, and Adom FM. In the Ashanti region, Wontumi Radio, Ash FM, and Fox FM. In the Upper West region, Radio Progress. In the Upper East region, A1 Radio. Bono region, Tang FM. Northeast region, Eagle FM. And Northern region, they monitored Radio Justice and North Star FM.